My name is Hannah Miller, and I'm 29 years old. For most of my adult life, my family described me with one word: lucky. Lucky because I had a stable job. Lucky because I didn't have kids yet. Lucky because I managed my money well. What they really meant was something else entirely. In my family, being lucky meant being available. Available to cover gaps. Available to smooth over mistakes. Available to quietly fix problems no one wanted to take responsibility for. And for years, I did exactly that. I was the aunt who never said no. The daughter who didn't ask questions. The sister who stepped in before things got embarrassing. It never started big. It never does. It started with small favors. Covering a phone bill one month. Paying for groceries when my sister Laura was between paychecks. Helping with school supplies for her son Ethan because, kids are expensive. Every time, I told myself it was temporary. Every time, I believed them when they said, just this once. Somehow, just this once lasted almost a decade. By the time Ethan turned 16, everyone had settled into their roles. Laura was the overwhelmed single mom who did her best. My mom was the peacekeeper who hated conflict more than injustice. And I was the quiet solution no one thanked because solutions aren't supposed to complain. I didn't hate them. That's the part people don't understand. I love my family. I loved Ethan, especially. I'd watched him grow from a clingy toddler into a sharp-tongued teenager who thought confidence meant volume. I told myself his attitude was just a phase, that he'd mature, that my help mattered. Then came the message that changed everything. It was a Tuesday night. I remember because I had just finished a 10-hour shift and was standing in my kitchen eating cereal out of the box, too tired to cook. My phone buzzed. Not a call. A text. From Ethan. No hi. No emoji. No hesitation. I need $1,600 for prom. Grandma said you can afford it. I stared at the screen, waiting for the rest of the message. Maybe an explanation. Maybe a joke. Maybe a follow-up that said just kidding. Nothing came. The number hit me first. $1,600. Prom tickets. A suit. A limo. Photos. After-party plans I didn't even want to imagine. But the money wasn't what made my chest tighten. It was that second sentence. Grandma said you can afford it. Not would you help. Not can you. Just assumption. Like my bank account was public knowledge. Like my finances were a family resource pool everyone else got to vote on. I didn't respond right away. I set my phone down and leaned against the counter, suddenly very aware of how quiet my apartment was. No kids running through the hall. No background noise. Just the hum of the refrigerator and my own breathing. I knew, without asking, that Ethan hadn't written that message alone. That wording. That entitlement. It had my sister's fingerprints all over it. Laura had always believed my life was easier because it looked quieter. She liked to say things like, "You don't really need money the way I do." As if stress only counted if you could hear it screaming. A few minutes passed. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, a message from my mom. "Did Ethan text you? Prom is really important to him." There it was. The coordinated push. The gentle nudge before the shove. I could already predict the rest of the conversation. It's just one night. You don't want him to feel left out. Family helps family. I picked my phone back up and stared at Ethan's message again. For the first time, I didn't feel guilt. I felt something colder. Clearer. I thought about the car repair I'd covered for Laura last year. The rent loan that never got repaid. The school trip I'd paid for while she posted vacation photos 2 weeks later. I thought about how no one had ever asked me if I was okay. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. I didn't write a paragraph. I didn't explain myself. I typed 5 words. You need to earn it. Then I hit send. The silence afterward felt unreal. No immediate explosion. No angry typing bubbles. Just quiet. For about 3 minutes. Then my phone rang. Laura. I let it ring. It rang again. Then a text came through, sharp and fast. Are you serious right now? I didn't answer. Another message followed. He's a kid. You're embarrassing him. Still I said nothing. My heart was pounding, but not with fear. With something dangerously close to relief. I didn't know it yet, but that single sentence, "You need to earn it," had cracked open something fragile my family had been standing on for years. And they were about to prove just how badly they needed me to keep holding it together. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I regretted what I said, but because my body wasn't used to resistance. For years, compliance had been my default setting. Silence. Agreement. Fixing things before they broke too loudly. Saying no felt like standing still while a wave pulled back, knowing it was about to crash. By morning, my phone confirmed it. 7 missed calls. Laura. Mom. Ethan again. And one number I didn't expect. My stepfather, Mark. That's when I knew this wasn't just about prom money anymore. I finally checked the messages. Ethan had sent one more text late at night. Wow. Didn't know you were like this. No question mark. No confusion. Just judgment. I didn't reply. At 8:17 a.m., my mom called again. I answered this time, mostly because I wanted to hear how she would frame it. She didn't say hello. She sighed. Hannah, she began, already exhausted. Laura is really upset. Of course she was. I stayed quiet. Mom continued. Ethan is hurt. He feels like you don't care about him. There it was. Not you don't want to pay, but you don't care. I stared out my window at the parking lot below, watching someone scrape ice off their windshield. Mom, I said calmly. I didn't insult him. I didn't yell. I just said he should earn it. There was a pause. That's not the point, she replied. It never was. The point, she said, lowering her voice, is that prom is important. Kids remember things like this. I almost laughed. Kids also remember who taught them accountability. But that part never made it into these conversations. So, I asked, why is this my responsibility? Silence. Then carefully, because you don't have the same expenses Laura does. There it was. The sentence that had followed me my entire adult life. You don't have kids. You don't struggle the same way. You don't need as much. As if my life was a waiting room where money piled up until someone else needed it. I'm not his parent, I said quietly. No, Mom agreed. But your family. The word family had always been their master key. It opened doors. It erased boundaries. It justified everything. The call ended without resolution. I sat there longer than I meant to, my coffee untouched, a familiar heaviness settling in my chest. By lunchtime, Laura made her move. She didn't call. She posted a vague, carefully worded post on Facebook. It's heartbreaking when people with the most refuse to help when it matters. No names. No details. Just enough for speculation. The comments came fast. You're so strong. People don't understand what single moms go through. Some folks forget where they came from. I knew that post wasn't for strangers. It was for me. And apparently, for the rest of the family, because minutes later, my phone buzzed with a group text I hadn't seen active in years. Laura had added everyone. I never thought I'd see the day my own sister would turn her back on my son. My chest tightened. Replies followed. An aunt with a sad face emoji. A cousin asking what happened. Someone suggesting we talk it out. No one asked me directly. That hurt more than I expected. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted it again. Then I realized something important. They weren't asking because they didn't want clarity. They wanted peace. And peace, in this family, always came at my expense. I put my phone down. At 3:42 p.m., Laura finally called. I answered. She didn't greet me either. What is wrong with you? She snapped. I held the phone away from my ear for a second, then brought it back. I'm setting a boundary, I said. She laughed. A short, sharp sound. Oh, please. Don't start therapy talking me. I closed my eyes. You humiliated Ethan, she continued. Do you have any idea how that made me look as a mother? There it was. Not about him. About her. You could have just paid, she said. You know I've been under stress. I thought about the designer bag she'd posted last month. The weekend getaway. The new phone. I've been helping you for years, I said. And I'm done being expected to. The silence on the other end turned dangerous. Then she said it. If you don't send the money, don't bother calling us anymore. I waited for the fear to hit. It didn't. Instead, something clicked into place. You don't get to threaten me with distance, I replied calmly. You've already been using me. She exploded. Called me selfish. Cold. Jealous. Jealous of what? I didn't know. The call ended abruptly. I sat there, shaking, but not from regret. From adrenaline. Because for the first time, I hadn't backed down. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't over. It was escalating. What Laura didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had already stopped doing something they'd been quietly relying on for months. Something financial. Something critical. And when they discovered it, the fallout wouldn't be about prom anymore. It would be about survival. I didn't tell anyone right away. Not because I was planning revenge, and not because I was afraid of their reaction, but because I wanted to be absolutely sure of one thing. That I was done. 4 months, I had been quietly covering something Laura never talked about publicly. Something she begged me not to mention to anyone, especially not Mom. Their house. More specifically, the mortgage. 6 months earlier, Laura had called me late one night, voice shaking, half crying. She said her hours had been cut, that she was falling behind, that Ethan couldn't know, that Mom would panic, that she just needed a little time. She'd promised to pay me back. She always promised. I didn't ask for documents. I didn't ask for proof. I set up auto-pay from my account and told myself it was temporary. Temporary stretched into half a year. Every month, the money disappeared quietly. And every month, Laura posted photos of dinners out, new clothes, smiling selfies with captions about gratitude and strength. I never confronted her. Until now. The night she threatened to cut me off, I logged into my banking app and canceled the autopay. No announcement. No warning. Just stopped. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. By the next morning, the consequences began rolling in. My phone buzzed nonstop while I was at work. I ignored it through meetings, emails, the quiet hum of routine that felt surreal against the chaos unfolding elsewhere. By noon, curiosity won. I checked my voicemail. Laura. Mark. Mom. Then a number I didn't recognize. I listened to Laura's first. Her voice was frantic, tight. Hannah, something's wrong with the mortgage payment. It didn't go through. Call me. No apology. No acknowledgement of the prom fight. Just panic. The second voicemail was from Mark. He sounded confused. Hey, Hannah. We got a notification from the bank. The payment didn't process. I thought maybe it was a glitch. That was the moment my stomach sank. Mark didn't know. Laura had never told him I was paying. I sat back in my chair, my heart pounding. That wasn't my secret to keep anymore. An hour later, Mom finally got through. Hannah, she said sharply, skipping pleasantries. What's going on with Laura's house? I took a breath. I stopped paying, I said. Silence. You what? I stopped covering the mortgage. Another pause. Longer this time. You were paying their mortgage, she asked, disbelief creeping into her voice. For 6 months. Mom didn't speak for several seconds. That's a lot of money, she finally said. Yes, I replied. It was. Her tone shifted. Concern, not anger. Why didn't you tell us? I laughed softly, not amused. Because every time I help, it becomes expected. And every time I stop, I'm the villain. She didn't argue. Instead, she sighed deeply. Hannah, she said quietly, Laura never mentioned this. Of course she hadn't. By late afternoon, the house of cards began to shake. Mark called again. This time, he asked to speak privately. I almost didn't answer, but something in his voice earlier had stayed with me. Hi, I said when I picked up. Hi, he replied. He sounded tired, not angry. I just wanted to understand. I didn't defend myself. I explained. The prom demand, the entitlement, the years of financial help, the auto-pay. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, there was a long pause. She told me the mortgage was covered by savings, he said quietly. I closed my eyes. I'm sorry, I said. I didn't know she told you that. He exhaled slowly. This explains a lot. That sentence carried more weight than anything Laura had said to me all week. We ended the call politely, but I knew. Something had shifted. That evening, Laura erupted. Texts poured in. What did you tell him? Why are you trying to ruin my marriage? You're doing this on purpose. I didn't respond. For the first time, I wasn't participating in the chaos. Then came the post. Another Facebook status, longer this time. When even your own blood betrays you financially, it really opens your eyes. The comments were fewer, more cautious. Someone asked, what happened? Laura didn't reply. By nightfall, Ethan texted me. Why is Mom crying? That message hit harder than anything else. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't blame him. He was a kid caught between adults who refused to be honest. I typed slowly. Your mom and I are dealing with grown-up issues. None of this is your fault. He didn't respond. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling, exhaustion washing over me. This wasn't just about prom anymore. The truth was leaking out. And once truth starts leaking, it doesn't stop politely. It floods. I didn't know how far it would go. I didn't know what Laura would do next. But I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I was done holding up a life that wasn't mine. And the collapse had only just begun. The silence after that night felt unnatural. Laura was never quiet. She filled space the way some people fill rooms, with noise, with emotion, with constant motion meant to keep everyone off balance. So when my phone stayed still the next morning, I knew it wasn't peace. It was strategy. By lunchtime, the first crack appeared. Mark called again. This time, he didn't sound confused. He sounded careful. "Hannah," he said, lowering his voice. "Can we talk?" "Just us." That word, just, carried weight. "Yes," I replied. "We can." He didn't waste time. "I checked the bank statements," he said. "The autopay. It was coming from your account." I swallowed. "I figured you would." Another pause. "She told me it was an advance from her work," he continued. "Then she said it was a gift from Mom. Now she's saying it was a loan from you she already paid back." I didn't react. I didn't need to. Mark exhaled sharply. I don't think she expected me to look. There it was. The truth doesn't shout. It waits until someone finally listens. "I'm not calling to argue," he said. "I just need clarity. Have you been paying other things, too?" I hesitated, then answered honestly. "Tuition. Groceries sometimes. Car repairs. Not lately." He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Not angry. Disappointed. "She's been telling me you're jealous of her life," he said softly. "That you've always resented her." I closed my eyes. "That's easier than admitting she needed me," I replied. He didn't defend her. He didn't apologize either. He just said, "I'm sorry you were put in this position." That was the moment I realized something important. Laura had always controlled the narrative by making sure no one compared notes. The second people started talking to each other instead of through her, everything began to unravel. An hour later, my mom showed up at my apartment, unannounced. She stood in the doorway, purse clutched too tightly, eyes scanning my face like she was trying to read something she'd missed for years. "You never told me," she said quietly. "I tried," I replied. "You didn't want to hear it." She didn't argue. Instead, she sat down heavily on my couch. "She says you're punishing Ethan," Mom said. "That you're taking out old resentment on him." I shook my head. "I told him to earn prom money," I said. "That's not punishment. That's reality." Mom rubbed her temples. "She's spiraling," she admitted. "She called me at 3 a.m. I felt a flicker of something. Pity, maybe, but I didn't let it grow. "She always spirals when she doesn't get her way," I said. Mom looked up at me, really looked. "You're different," she said slowly. "You didn't fold." "No," I agreed. "I didn't." That night, Laura went public again. Not vague this time. She posted a long rant about betrayal, about family who pretend to help but secretly hold it over your head, about being judged by people who don't know what real struggle looks like. But something was different. People asked questions. How long has this been going on? Why didn't Mark know? Why was Hannah paying? Laura deleted the post within an hour. That was new. The next morning, Ethan called me. Not texted. Called. His voice was tight, controlled in that way teenagers get when they're trying not to break. "Aunt Hannah," he said. "Did you really pay for our house?" I leaned back against my kitchen counter. "Yes," I said. "For a while." He went quiet. "She told me you offered because you felt bad," he said. I didn't correct him. "Not yet." "What's going to happen?" he asked. I chose my words carefully. "Your parents need to talk to each other honestly," I said. "That's all." He exhaled shakily. "They've been fighting a lot." I believed him. By evening, Laura snapped. She sent me a barrage of messages, one after another. "You ruined everything. You went behind my back. You always wanted this." I didn't reply, because this time, she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the version of herself she could no longer control, the version that was being exposed in real time. At 9:48 p.m., Mark texted me one final message. "We're staying at my brother's tonight. I need space." I stared at the screen. This wasn't my victory. It wasn't revenge. It was consequence. Laura had spent years telling everyone a story where she was the hero, the victim, the survivor. Now the truth was walking around without her permission. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. The next move would be hers. And whatever it was, I knew it wouldn't be quiet. Laura showed up at my apartment 3 days later. Not calm. Not composed. Unraveling. Her hair was pulled into a messy knot. Sunglasses still on even though the sky was overcast. She didn't knock. She rang the bell over and over until I opened the door. The moment she saw me, she exploded. "You think you're better than me now," she snapped, pushing past me into the living room. "You think because you have money, you get to decide how everyone lives." I closed the door quietly behind her. "I didn't decide anything," I said. "I just stopped lying for you." She ripped off her sunglasses, eyes red and swollen. "You told Mark," she accused. "I answered his questions," I replied. "That's the same thing." "No," I said calmly. "It isn't." She paced like a trapped animal. "You could have talked to me first," she said, voice breaking. "You didn't have to humiliate me." I felt something crack, not anger, not pity, just clarity. "I did talk to you," I said. "For years. You just didn't listen unless the answer was yes." She laughed bitterly. "You always loved playing the martyr," she said. "Helping just enough so you could feel superior. That was her favorite weapon. Rewrite history. Flip roles. Make me the villain for refusing to bleed. Quietly. I helped because I cared," I said. "I stopped because you stopped respecting me." She froze. That landed. Her voice dropped. "So this is about prom?" she asked. "You really let a kid suffer over a stupid dance." I stepped closer, not aggressively, just enough to make my point clear. "No," I said. "This is about entitlement. About teaching Ethan that money doesn't come from guilt-tripping people." Her face twisted. "He's a child," she said. "He's almost an adult," I replied. "And he learned this behavior from you." That's when she broke. Not into tears. Into rage. She grabbed her phone and shoved it in my face. "Look," she said. "Look what people are saying about me. Messages. Screenshots. Comments. Not cruel. Not vicious. Just honest. Questions she couldn't answer." "You did this," she whispered. "No," I said softly. "You did." She slumped onto the couch, suddenly smaller. "They're all pulling away," she said. "Mom. Mark. Even Ethan barely talks to me." I didn't celebrate it, but I didn't fix it either. "You can't build relationships on secrets forever," I said. She looked up at me then, eyes desperate. "Please," she said. "Just tell Mark it was temporary. Tell him you offered." I shook my head. "I'm not lying anymore." She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. "You're choosing him over me?" she asked. I sighed. "I'm choosing myself." That was the moment she realized she had no leverage left. No guilt. No silence. No money. She stood abruptly, anger flaring again. "Don't expect forgiveness," she said. "I'm not," I replied. She stormed out, slamming the door, so hard the walls shook. I sank onto the couch, my hands trembling. "That night, Mom called." She sounded older. "I didn't know how much you carried," she said. "I should have asked." "Yes," I said. "You should have." She didn't argue. "I told Laura she needs help," Mom continued. "Not money. Accountability." I closed my eyes. That was new. The next day, Ethan texted me. Not about prom. About work. "I got a part-time job at the grocery store. I'll figure it out." I stared at the message, heart heavy and light at the same time. "I'm proud of you," I replied. He sent back a single word. "Thanks." Short. Sincere. Later that week, Mark sent me a message. "We're starting counseling," he wrote. "I don't know where this ends, but I know it couldn't keep going like it was." I didn't respond right away. When I did, it was simple. "I hope you find honesty." As for Laura, she went quiet. No posts. No rants. No messages. Just absence. And strangely, that absence felt like relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for the next crisis. The next demand. The next emotional bill I couldn't afford. I didn't know what would happen to my relationship with my sister. But I knew something important. I had finally stopped paying for her lies. And the cost of that decision. Peace. The first Sunday morning after everything, I woke up without dread. No buzzing phone. No unread messages. No guilt stacked like bricks on my chest. For a moment, I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, letting the silence fill every corner of the apartment. It was strange, almost suspicious. I expected the calm to be temporary. I expected chaos to come knocking again. But it didn't. I got out of bed, poured a cup of tea, and walked to the window. The sun was spilling across the streets in soft golden light. The world felt ordinary. But ordinary, after years of tension and manipulation, felt like luxury. I checked my phone. Nothing. Not from Laura. Not from Ethan. Not from Mark. Not even from Mom. It was just quiet, and I realized something crucial. Quiet wasn't absence. Quiet was permission. Permission to breathe. Permission to exist. A few days later, Ethan sent me a photo. He was at a small desk in his room, surrounded by textbooks and notebooks. The caption read, "Back to school. Learning on my own now." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The photo said everything. He was growing, taking responsibility, learning what his mother had never taught him. Later, Mark reached out. "We're figuring things out," he said. "Laura's getting help. I'm managing things differently. Ethan is safe." I didn't need details. I didn't need praise. I just nodded silently to myself, even though he couldn't see me. The following weekend, Dad invited me over. Just a quiet dinner. No drama, no family spectacle, no hidden tensions. When I arrived, Mom was smiling genuinely, and Dad laughed without restraint. We sat down together, ate together, and it felt normal. Warm. Safe. After dinner, while washing dishes, Mom leaned against the counter. "You know," she said softly, "we never realized how much Laura relied on you until you stopped letting her." I kept washing, letting the warm water run over my hands. "I wasn't trying to teach her a lesson," I said quietly. "I just stopped covering for her." Mom nodded. "She'll need time," she said, "but we'll all get there." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. In the following weeks, life continued with its quiet rhythm. Ethan thrived. He worked part-time, enrolled in classes, and slowly started learning independence. Mark and Mom found balance again. Family dinners became moments of laughter, not tension. And Laura, she resurfaced only once. A vague post under a burner account, something about family betrayal and finding herself. It got 2 likes and disappeared within hours. She had lost her stage, her audience, her control. For the first time in years, I realized she wasn't the one holding the power. She never had been. I did. Not through money. Not through manipulation. Not through anger. I did it simply by saying no, by setting boundaries, by refusing to carry the weight of someone else's chaos, by being honest. The real lesson? Freedom isn't loud. Freedom doesn't need applause. Freedom comes quietly, through small choices, through saying what's true, and walking away from what's not. I sat by my window one evening, tea in hand, watching the sky bleed orange into gold. The phone buzzed. It was Ethan. A simple message. "I understand now. Thank you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, I finally understood something I had ignored for far too long. I wasn't destroying my family. I wasn't the villain. I had simply stopped holding up a structure that was already cracking. The moment I let go, the truth did the rest. And truth, as it turns out, doesn't need permission. It just needs space. I smiled. A slow, unburdened smile. I was finally free.